I'd like to thank SCDKey for sponsoring this video and helping me out through another adpocalypse. Now, SCDKey itself is a website where you can go on it and essentially buy games for a lower price than you normally been able to find them online, and they can work on Steam, PlayStation, or really wherever you find them. Now, for example, right here we have Conan Exiles on Steam for 29% off, which you can buy right there, or maybe even PlayerUnknown Battleground, which is probably one of my most favorite games of all time. Right here, though, I'm going to show you something even better, which is maybe a Windows 10 Pro key, which I personally need for myself. As you can see right here, I need to activate Windows. So all you have to do for this professional key, 72% off as well, is press the Buy Now button, put in the promo code, which is in the description, which is SKJK. So you press that, and there we go, promo code for another 10% off. At this point, all you have to do is submit the order, pick your payment, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, at this point, we paid for the order, and we can see right here the key is going to be on our screen. So all we have to do is simply press View the Key, which you aren't going to be able to see, but you press it down there. It's going to be right here, as you can see. And then there we go. We activate Windows, and there you see. We have an activated copy of Windows. Simple as that. Overall, this has probably been one of the better key sites that I've used, and I definitely recommend it if you're looking for games at a lower price than usual. Anyways, thanks for your time and the support on this channel, and with that said, let's get started. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about the heroes that I think were probably the worst balanced heroes in Overwatch's history. Now, currently they might be pretty well balanced, or they might not. It doesn't really apply to this video. What does apply is that at one point, they were horribly imbalanced, either way too overpowered or way too weak. So with that all in mind, let's get going with this, and at the end, I'll tell you what I think is personally definitely the worst balanced hero in the entire game. Now, the first hero I wanted to mention here is going to be Sombra, and I'm going to go over very quickly, because Sombra has never been part of the overpowered group. In fact, she's been one of the worst, if not the worst character ever since her release as far as win rates go. Now, I do know that Sombra does have some potential in the top tiers, if you can pull off her EMPs, if you can get those sneaky plays in the backline, but as we've seen everywhere except for Masters and above, and really Grandmasters, you can't do much as her, and I think that's really a problem. I think overall her kit has just not been balanced that well to make so more people can play her, and she doesn't really have a general theme in her kit. She isn't really meant to do assassinations, she isn't really meant to do a lot of crowd control, and her hack isn't really the main part of her kit, it just is a really good part of her kit. As well, her shift, the invisibility doesn't really fit her too well either, because you can't really get a backstab or anything, so being behind the enemy team doesn't do much anyways. I think overall that she could use just a little bit more in her kit, I guess. And especially if we just look at her stats, yeah, she has been balanced really badly, and she's never been really all that good. Now that we're done with that character, though, I want to talk about the characters that I think are extremely strong and have been balanced to a point, at one point, where they just completely ruin the game, completely by themselves. And the first character I wanted to mention here is going to be Mccree. And Mccree has been kind of all over the place because he had two extremely overpowered modes. One of them was kind of near the beta, and I guess at the very beginning of the game also. And then another one was a little bit later on, I think near Season 1, and then kind of got padded out after that. Now with Mccree, what he had was, the two different modes. One mode where he was extremely far-range sniper Mccree, and the second mode where he was kill every tank in 1/4 of a second Mccree. Now, how these modes worked, first off, is that at one point of time, Mccree had almost no damage fall off. I mean, he did at some point, but really didn't. So essentially what could happen was that you as Mccree could snipe people with headshots from just about anywhere on the map where you could see your opponent, and boom, there you go, full Mccree damage headshot. You can go 1, 2, 3, and in general, he was essentially just a super far-range sniper. There wasn't much you could do against a good Mccree, and currently at that time, dive meta didn't really exist. I think that Mccree was probably the more balanced one, though, maybe, because while he probably wasn't more balanced in the top levels, the majority of players really couldn't abuse this way too hard. Sure, he was extremely strong, but most people don't have the best aim at that type of range. The other Mccree, though, that I think was really balanced was the one that had, I think, 70 damage per fan the hammer shot. Overall, Mccree could just flashbang, fan the hammer anybody, and kill him instantly. And that's just kind of how it went. And essentially what happened was Mccree was just a fan the hammer simulator. You walked around, you fan the hammer, shift, fan the hammer, reload, fan the hammer, and just keep doing that over and over and over again. And I think this one was a lot worse than having almost no drop-off damage on your regular pistol, because it was so easy to pull off. The other one was not too hard, but you did have to have good aim. This version of Mccree, you just kind of did what you needed to do, and pressed your buttons, and it worked out pretty well. As well, I should mention as well, you know, there wasn't way too much dive at this point. There wasn't way too much to stop this. And even if there was dive, well, I mean, he can just shred Winston instantly. So, yeah, overall, this was just so broken. And I'm really glad that they fixed this. They didn't take way too long on this either, so that wasn't that bad. Now, to our next character, we have Bastion. And Bastion was definitely not a well-balanced hero at all. Because he's been a hero that's either been, again, kind of like Sombra, completely useless for the majority of his time just existing. But there was one time where he was very good. There was one time where he became the entire meta by himself. And I think Mccree did create his own meta, and he was very strong. But you still could argue that maybe you could pick some other characters. When Bastion had his own meta, that was it. You pick Bastion or you lost, essentially. Because there weren't really any counters to Bastion other than Bastion. Now, at one point in time, you know, Bastion got a rework, and essentially what it did was that it made so that he couldn't do headshots, but he could shoot a little bit more bullets, and as well, he had 35% damage reduction on himself. And I think it might have even been a little bit more than that, and as well, of course, he could do self-heal and everything at any time that he wanted to. What this meant is that Bastion could hunker down, shoot, and there was essentially nothing that could kill him. If he was getting healed by a Mercy, and then he got that damage reduction, you couldn't do much. You just kind of had to wait and see and hope that something would happen. Even Tracer's Bomb wouldn't even get close to killing him. And that just essentially led to an invincible tank on your team, and again, led to a meta where there's just one extremely overpowered character, so you gotta have him on each single team. Now, this meta in general, I think, wasn't way too fun. It was pretty much protect the Bastion, see what Bastion's better, and it's kind of hard to really show off how good you are at Bastion, because essentially just shield break war. Overall, that, I think, was a very badly balanced meta, and we saw it coming in the PTR for like 2 weeks, which they didn't fix either, which kind of got our hopes down for the PTR. Overall, yeah, Bastion didn't have way too great of a time for himself either. Now, the next character I wanted to mention here is, I guess, maybe technically a little bit less overpowered than Bastion, but I think a lot more people have kind of disliked playing against, and that's going to be Brigitta Lindh, the character that was just released. Now, I think the problem about Brigitta is that they've waited far too long to nerf a hero that everybody's playing. And with Bastion, yeah, you'd have him almost every single game, but I feel like with Brigitta, you see her even more, and you will literally see her almost every game, even after the nerfs that she did eventually get, which took forever. I think, again, the problem with Brigitta was essentially the same problem that we had with Bastion. We knew a very strong character was coming in, we had pro players telling us, you need to nerf this character before they come to live. Blizzard ignored that, and then we have Brigitta, or then we have Bastion. Now, Brigitta, as we all know, you know, the stun stimulator, tons of armor, tons of health, tons of damage, DPS, support, tank all in one, and I think that she did definitely need some nerfs before coming out. Now, Brigitta's win rate has also just been huge this entire time, and I think that is just ridiculous because she has one of the highest play rates in the game and also one of the highest win rates. That almost never happens with any characters. I feel like in general with her, you should probably just maybe lower her damage a little bit, maybe make so that she does less healing, make so that her ultimate charge is a bit less, so that she can stun less often. There's a lot of stuff you can do to balance out this character, but I feel like the Overwatch team really didn't handle this way too well, especially when they're releasing a character that completely stomps the previous meta, which, yeah, will piss off a lot of the people that like to play along the last meta. And off to the actual worst balanced hero in Overwatch history, in my opinion, I'm going to have to say that it was the Mercy Rework. And I think that there's almost no way to argue that this was not the worst balanced hero in the game. Because what Mercy had was 3 reses with an ultimate. She could res 3 times within her ultimate. And essentially had an ultimate that was almost unkillable, heals way too much, that as well, you can play around from the corner, play very safe with. You could res at any time, become invincible yourself, and as well, it took no time to do the res initially. That's it. Essentially how the meta went when Mercy came out is that you had a Mercy, the enemy team had a Mercy, and if you didn't, you were screwed. So you both have a Mercy, and whoever can kill the Mercy first wins the game. And that's it. That's a thrilling meta to play in, and this lasted for far too long. We saw it again, like the previous things in the PTR. We didn't really know exactly how strong it was going to be. Some people thought it would be a little weak even. So, you know, it came out to live. We tried it. It turned out to be extremely overpowered. It was extremely overpowered forever. They finally nerfed it after like 3 months, and it was still strong. They finally nerfed it again, and now Mercy's eventually kind of where she is now, which I think is in a pretty good spot. Overall, I think Mercy, just with her insane res potential and just so much value on her kit with so little effort at that current time. Yeah, definitely deserves a spot as the worst balanced hero, especially when you keep in mind that, again, she was in this state for like 3 to 4 months. And that's, I think, all you have to say. Now, she was, of course, nerfed a little bit early on, but yeah, she was in the overpowered state for like 3 to 4 months. I don't even know how that happened, but that's just kind of how it is. And overall, I think that is, again, probably what I'd say was the worst balanced hero in Overwatch history. But anyways, that is just my own personal opinion about Overwatch and its hero balance, and I'm sure you guys have different opinions. What heroes do you think were good, or bad, or well-balanced, or as well, really badly balanced by the developer team? Overall, I do want to mention here that I think the dev team is doing a pretty good job. I think in general, they make the characters fun, enjoyable, and balance them out without way too much time in between. Maybe I'd like them to balance the game a little bit faster, especially when they release overpowered characters, but it's definitely not the worst game I've played, especially when playing games like Super Smash Bros. With, Bayonetta. You got to deal with some stuff. But anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below. Again, what I just asked. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this in the future. As always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.